Shalom Mevracha, welcome to the weekly Shiur of Zera Shimshon. Today is Thursday, Parshas Tazria, Metzora, Chaf, Tes, Nisan, Tavshim, Pevov. We just entered the days of Sfira Sa'omer, the days that 24,000 Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva perish, Lenagu, Zeh Bozeh. This week's Parsha, Parshas Tazria, Metzora, is Ma'orer a Yid about the Inyan of Lashon Hara and Avos Yisrael, and how important it is for a person to be careful about the words that leave his mouth, not to chas v'shalom talk negatively about any single yid. Let's learn two pieces in Zera Shimshon this week's Parsha, one in Parshas Metzora, one in Parshas Tazria, and we will get a new appreciation to understand how one can be mesakin lashon hara, and more importantly, how important it is for a person to refrain from speaking lashon hara, and the gewaltige te'eles a person can have on so many levels, from being shoymei piv ula shoynoi, that will make him shoymei mitzaros nafshay. Sagt the Heilige Zera Shimshon, first we learn Parshas Metzora, Ois Aleph. The Gemara says in Masechtas Erechin, Abraham Shmuel ben Achmein Amar Yochanan, Al Shiva Devarim Negoim Boim. For 7 averas, the punishment is that a person gets a nega. Al lashon hara. And the Gemara asks the kasha, umaksha hasim ataritz loy kasha. Ha de hanem meisav, ha de loy hanem meisav. There's 2 types of lashon haras. One lashon hara actually impacted, it caused damage, and when it causes damage, then negoim come. Then he needs something called a nega. When the words didn't take effect, then the me'il is mechaper. So we have 2 ideas, 2 types of lashon haras, 2 categories. There's a lashon hara that it actually damaged somebody's reputation and that harmed him. For that you have to have negoim. Then you have another lashon hara that a person spoke, but it didn't impact anybody. For that we have the me'il, the Kohen Gadol wears that beged, and that atones the lower level avera of lashon hara. Frag the Heilige Zera Shimshon, you're telling me that when a person speaks lashon hara and it actually harmed somebody, that he gets a kapara with negoim, kasha. Dol el besamach, and that Gemara says, Reb Abba Reb Chnina Amar, Siper ein loy takana. If a person speaks lashon hara, ein loy takana, there's no hope for him. Shekva karasoy David Baruch HaKodesh, David HaMelech cut him off. As David writes in Tehillim, Yachreis Hashem, Hashem should detach, cut off, kol sifsei halakos. And Gemara says that's talked about by a hanim aisav. So how do you have negoim being mechaper if David HaMelech already was koiris, this person, and he says, ein loy takana. Listen to the teretz of the Zera Shimshon. Yesh loymar, the isa v'per kama demoyet katan tanya, v'tamei tamei yikra. What does this Metzora have to do? He has to sit there outside the camp, and he calls out, Tamei, Tamei, I am Tamei, I am Tamei. Why? Says the Gemara, Tzarech lo ydiat tzarei l'rabim. He has to publicize to people that he is in pain, his suffering. V'rabim yevakshi olav rachmim. Let other people daven for him. They'll see Nabuch, this poor person separated from his home, and he's suffering the pain of tzaras, and he's going through a hard time, and people will say, "Oh, Rebbeinu Shloim, help this individual." Azoi steht in the Gemara. Frag the Heilige Zera Shimshon the Kasha, Lama b'choili zeh shel negoim. Why specifically by this oynish of negoim did the Torah say that you have to publicize this? Elavadai. The reason is Hayel she'ein loy takana. Since David HaMelech says a person that speaks lashon hara and is a hani maisav, ein loy takana, he is hopeless. Shekva karusay David Baruch HaKodesh. David HaMelech cut him off. It's written, it's signed from David HaMelech, and Hashem agreed. This person has no hope. What's the way how a person can overturn something that's a gzardin that's written and signed? Tzarech tfilas rabim levatloi. Yes, when you get the rabbim involved, then they can overturn even a decree that is written and signed. V'zehi ein loy takana. The Gemara says he individually doesn't have hope. That's when he's on his own. Loy levadoi. Davik mo yachid. On his own, then there's no chance he'll get out of this. But we have another option of making this into a tsar of a rabbin. When you have a gzardin of a tzibur, even if it's signed, we can rip it up. As the pasuk says, the Eibishter is not moyes tfilis rabbim. K'diisa prepare kam de Rosh Hashanah, kashem elakeni b'chol kreina elav mayir b'tzibur. The Eibishter is not moyes in tfilis rabbim. Hein kel kabel yimas. When rabbim come together to daven, that has a koyach hatzibur, and that can overturn this person's punishment. Therefore, it's like the Heilige Zera Shimshon. True, a man that speaks Lashon Hara and Hanim Ma'asav, it took effect, ein loy takana, on an individual basis. So Hashem gives him the goyim, he sits outside, and he yells out and he screams about his suffering, and then the rabbim will daven for him. Once the rabbim will daven for him, then he's transformed his problem from being a problem of a yochid to a problem of a rabbim, and rabbim have a koyach to fix even problems, even situations that don't have a takana on an individual basis. And that's the gewaldige meila of getting people involved in a person's personal tzara, because then it turns into a tzar shel rabbim. Once it turns into a tzar shel rabbim, and rabbim care, rabbim get together and daven, then it becomes a situation that Hashem says, Hein kel kabel yamis tfilis rabbim, and then this person's healed. And I think that's the understanding why a Baal Lashon Hara gets cut off. Because a Baal Lashon Hara is somebody that is always poking fun, he's always being mezalzel in others. He's not part of the rabbim. He mistreats other people, and he thinks he knows it all, and everything else he always pushes down and puts down and is cynical, so he's not part of the rabbin. As a yachid, the person has a very hard time, and it's hard to survive as a yachid. So Hashem says, okay, we have to change this person and teach him a lesson or two. We're going to give him tzaras, and the only hope for this person will be that he will call out in pain, and the rabbin will hear, he'll become part of the rabbin, and then he'll get to understand what makes Zizana Yid, that's part of a rabbin, part of a tzibur. Let's learn a piece of Zera Shimshon in Parsha Tazria. Oy Zion, I think we've learned this in the past, that connects to this. Dvarim nifloim ad ma'oid. Why was it that Aaron the Kohen was given this sacred mission of being Metar Metzora? Says the Zera Shimshon, and we won't be married in the whole piece, but just a few paragraphs that will tie into what we just learned. Dvarim nifloim says in Chazal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tikin es Chava b'chaf dalet tachshiten. The Eibishter gave Chava 24 ornaments and brought Chava to Adam, as the pasuk says, "Vayevieha el Adam." Vayevieha is gematria 24. V'hanachash, and the Nachash Akadmoini, the source of evil, Hafach es hateva. He turned round the word Vayevieha, that's gematria 24, and he turned it into the word Va'asasa ve'eva, hatred, animosity, sinner. V'zeh ve'eva oshis, ve'kilkel ba'oisen chav dala tachshitin. There was a concept of 24 tachshitim va'yeviyeh ala adam, and that was supposed to create a bond. Then there was 24 that was changed into the word the eva, which is the shirish of Lashon Hara. The Nachash HaKadmoni brought into this world the number 24 in a negative way, in the world of sinner, eva, separation. When we learn Torah, is trying to transform this number 24 into the Tzara Toiv. We have inside us this Chav Daled in the Tzara, and we have to fix that up. Shabbos is a day when we fix that up. Says the Zera Shimshon, Mizmor Shirliya Meshabbos, we talk about a day that there's no mazikim, which the 24 can be elevated. That's why V'Shamru B'nei Yisrael Es HaShabbos is Rosh Hashanah Ve'eva. V'chein Motzinu Shev'shvil Lashon Hara Nigzal Aveseinu, that we shouldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. They spoke Lashon Hara the Meraglim. It was decreed upon us because of Lashon Hara not to go to Eretz Yisrael, as the pasuk says, as Hashem promises. Upikreichem atem yiplu b'midbar hazeh. The words upikreichem atem yiplu b'midbar hazeh Rosh Hashanah ve'eva. That's this hatred going back to the Nachash. Ubeshvil Lashon Hara charev habayis. Lashon Hara causes the Churban Beis Mikdash, as the pasuk opens up. Eicha, Eicha, Aleph, Yashva, Bada the ear, Yud, Beis, Hey, Rosh Hashanah, Eva. That's this Eva. That's this hatred. That's this separation. That's a Nachash HaKadmoini. And I would add, the Shoirish of Nachash HaKadmoini, the Kadmoinim tell us, brought in the Shla, Chava complains, Nachash Hishi Ani va'oichel. Hishi Ani is, hey, yesh ani. There's a me. I'm on my own. I'm an individual. I'm not involved in the rabbin. That's this clipper of the Nachash. That's this Eva. That's a separation from the rabbin. That's the Eichva, Yashva, Badad. I'm on my own. I'm not part of the tzibur. Everything everybody else does, I make fun of, and I'm cynical. That's Nachash. That's this 24, the Tzaddik Klipper, and that is Churban Beis Hamikdash. That is Chet HaMeraglim. That's the beginning of all tzaris. This 24 of Eva. And the tikkun comes when we get the Kahanim involved. The Kahanim have 24 matnas kahuna that we give to the Kahanim to misakin this idea. Kahanim are represented by Aaron the Kohen, who is the Oy of Shalom, the Roid of Shalom. He is the source of being mischased. And Klal Yisrael have to connect with him with the 24 matnas kahuna. And those 24 matnas kahuna are misakin is 24 of the Eva, and that elevates this the Tzadatov, and therefore the Kohen is the one that is misakin this negar, which shoy bar from the Nachash HaKadmoini, and this person that speaks Lashon Hara is entering that world of 24 minai tuma, and he gets a tikkun through the Kahanim. And I would add, we have also 24,000 Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva, Shloi Nagu Kavod Zebo Zeb Ben Pesach LaAtzeres, and they perished in these days. And these days are the time when we read Parsha Tazria Metzora. Paroi was a Metzora, as we know, and we leave the world of Paroi, we leave the world of Mitzrayim in days of Spheres Omer, and the avoid is to fix number 24 into bringing Achdus, bringing the Koyach Harabim, bringing a Koyach of Ahava instead of Eva, and a world of Tzibur instead of Badad, and then we have a tikkun of these 24,000 Talmidim. And this is the Avodas Hayoim, to connect to Rabbim, to look up to the Rabbim, to talk fondly and talk with kavod about every single yid. And with that, we masakin the chet of Negoim. The Nega will turn into Oyneg, and then we'll be Zeichim et Hashem, that all Tzaris Yisrael will turn into Chasadim Megulim, and all that need Yeshuas will have Yeshuas, and Klal Yisrael will be united and become one. B'bias b'shef tzedkeinu b'meher b'meinu, zechusay agadol v'akadosh yagen aleinu, a good Shabbos.